Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome to another session of our Day 1 and Beyond series, where we take you through various topics and activities related to building out on Oracle Cloud. Our session today will cover mastering cloud visibility with security and monitoring and governance in OCI, the solutions and services that are available today, what's planned next, some advantages customers have, and how easy it is to get started. I'd like to introduce GK and Chaitanya as our main presenters. And now I'll hand it over to GK to begin today's session.
Thank you, Stan. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Quick intro about myself. This is GK Golla. I'm a cloud security specialist. I have been in the security space for the last 19 years. With Oracle, it's been 14 years in total. Today, I have my colleague Chaitanya with me. We both are going to talk about two most important cloud security topics, security monitoring and access governance. Security monitoring is all about, process of observing, analyzing your OCI workloads to discover any, security incident, insights that you may find and how you can remediate that. In case of access governance, it's all about managing and controlling who has access to what within your OCI environment and how do I make sure that access is appropriate, compliant, and secure. So before we go into the content, let's Chaitanya, please go ahead and do the introduction here.
Yep. Thanks, CK. Hi, everyone. This is Chaitanya. I'm working as a cloud security specialist for Oracle for the past 3 years, and I do have around 13 years of experience in the security space. I'm really excited to be part of today's session and share some valuable insights with you all. With that, I will hand it back to CK to take us forward.
Yep, thank you, Chaitanya. So before we dive into topics, right, let's first understand why are we discussing these topics, both like security monitoring and access governance, and why do they matter? So we all know that cloud brings its own advantages, something like scalability, flexibility, performance, and a lot of other features. At the same time, it is going to bring specific set of challenges with respect to security monitoring as well as access governance. So what makes these challenges particularly very complex? We know that cloud operates at a scale and the speed, and that's fundamentally different from managing your workloads on-prem or traditional IT. So when it comes to the cloud, there are three ways that we think that makes monitoring and challenging with respect to like security monitoring as well as access governance. The first one is volume, huge amount of workloads that grows over the time, and the velocity, speed of change in your cloud environment, and as well as a variety of platforms. It could be just OCI or non-OCI clouds. So when you have these factors in place, it is very tough for everyone to manage access for those users. At the same time, it's very tough to monitor your environment in a very most efficient way. So we need something integrated and the automated approach to implement a security governance solution as well as access governance. That is what we are going to explore today. So in today's session, we are going to explore what kind of services we have already built in within OCI and how they can help you to solve specific set of use cases for both cloud security monitoring as well as access governance. So I would like to go through the agenda first before we dive into the topic. So my colleague Chaitanya, he's going to talk about OCI auditing and logging. That is our consolidated like data engine where you find all the audit records, logging records with respect to your workloads to uncover anything related to security incident or performance issues or any threats that you may have in your environment. And after that, he's going to talk about how do you bring your OCI audit and log information to your enterprise SIEM system, something like Splunk, so that you can correlate OCI logs with across all the enterprise applications or workloads to see one picture in one place on the SIEM dashboards. There are two more topics Chaitanya is going to cover. One, log shippers. That is an alternative approach to do SIEM integration with OCI. And we are going to talk about OCI security dashboards. This is for someone who do not have enterprise-wide SIEM today. We provide security dashboards to solve similar use cases on OCI. And after that, I'm going to talk about two critical services like Oracle Events and Notification Service, as well as Oracle Access Governance. So I will let Chaitanya to talk about, so definitely today's session is going to help you to understand all these tools in place that we have. So with that, I will hand it over to Chaitanya to talk about the topics here. Chaitanya, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks, CK, for setting the stage. Before we get into OCI audit and logging, let me take a moment to share a quick story titled The Day Nothing Worked. We all know, right? Security is never appreciated until there is a breach or until everything stops working. Let me take you back to a regular weekday morning at a mid-sized company running their critical apps on-prem or on some cloud service provider. Right? Everyone is sipping their coffee, dashboards are green, SLAs are being met, life is good. Suddenly, some users started reporting strange behavior. Some of the logins are failing, some services are slow, and some teams are seeing data discrepancies, and the APIs are returning 401 errors. The panic sets in. The security team jumps in and they started analyzing, right? What is the issue? Is it an attack, a misconfiguration, or a permission issue? And they started asking questions to the operations team like, do we have audit logs for yesterday's SIEM policy changes? Or can we see what requests were being made to the API gateway? Or did someone update the security list? Someone from the operations team whispering like, yes, logs were technically enabled, but not centralized. No real-time streaming to SIEM, no alerting. And worst of all, nobody knew where to look or what was even being collected. You know the moral of the story? You can't secure what you can't see. And logging is your visibility layer, not just for troubleshooting, but for prevention, detection, and response. And that's exactly where OCI's NATO logging and auditing capabilities come into play. And in OCI logging, when I talk about centralized log management, right? The idea is to have all our logs, whether they come from audit service or different services in OCI, or the logs from your custom applications collected in one place. Once everything is in a single platform, right, we can search and analyze those logs far more effectively. That means we can write some correlation events from different sources in one view, making it easier to see the full picture. And more importantly, we can create visualizations and dashboards for better insights. And from an audit and compliance perspective, right, these logs are critical. And they not only help us meet security and compliance requirements by tracking the changes made to OCI resources, but they also give us the information we need to troubleshoot quickly and effectively. Right. OCI has three different types of logs, right? One is audit, service logs, and custom logs. Now let's discuss about audit logs. What are audit logs? Right. These logs are emitted by OCI audit service, and audit logs generally focus on the control plane auditing. Right. And generally, control plane provides the administrative APIs used to do CRUD operations, right? Like create, read, update, delete, and even the listing of OCI resources. Whenever a user is creating a compute instance, a CRUD operation like creating a compute instance, uh, right, either using CLI or SDK or GUI, behind the scenes, they are hitting those CRUD, those administrative APIs on the control plane. Whenever someone hits a control plane API, that call is recorded and is stored as audit log. And the audit logs are by default enabled in OCI, and the default retention period is 365 days. Right, and there are some features you get in OCI with these audit logs, like data integrity checks, and these audit events. Right, we ensure that these audit events are read-only, and any tampering can be detected for your compliance and security needs. And moreover, you get the records of API calls made to OCI services, including the action taken, the user who performed the action, and the timestamp, which gives us to maintain the traceability, right? And the other thing is you will get entire visibility into your entire infrastructure because these audit logs support is there for all the OCI services like compute, networking, block volume, load balancer, WAF, etc. Right. Let's discuss about service logs. These are the logs that are emitted by the services in OCI, right? And these service logs focus on data plane, right? And OCI has a lot of native services like VCN, Web Application Firewall, Load Balancer, Object Storage, right? And each and every service generates different categories of logs, which includes information about the resource utilization, error messages, and operational events of those services, right? Which are nothing but the service logs. For example, let's take VCN, which is a network construct in OCI, right? Inside the VCN, you have subnets, and on the subnets, we will have a security list. Whenever a particular flow is allowed or denied by the security list, it generates a log, which is nothing but VCN flow log. Like the same way, right? Whenever you upload an object to an object storage or read an object from an object storage, it generates a record, which are nothing but object storage read and write logs. Like the same way, most of the services in OCI, right, generates logs, which focuses on monitoring and troubleshooting the operational aspects of OCI services. And these service logs are not enabled by default. You need to enable it manually. And the retention period you can set from maybe 30 days to 180 days, depending on your requirement. Right now, let's discuss about the custom logs. Right. Let's imagine you have a custom application running on compute instances in OCI, and you would like to ingest the logs from those custom applications into OCI logging. How you can ingest? You can ingest using this custom log monitoring agent. And not only the custom applications which are running on compute instance or OCI using these custom logs, right? We can ingest the logs from applications which are running on instances on other clouds or from the applications which are running on on-prem, right? And apart from this custom log monitoring plugin, you can use REST API as well for ingesting logs from your OS or from your custom applications into OCI. Right. Now we have discussed about different types of logs in OCI. Let's discuss about what are logs and log groups. You can think of log group as a logical container for organizing the logs. Right. In OCI, whenever you want to enable a log, right, there must be a log group because the logs exist inside the log group. Why do we need these log groups? These log groups help in organizing logs into meaningful categories. By grouping logs from various sources, you can manage and analyze them more effectively. And this kind of organization is particularly essential for efficient monitoring and troubleshooting. For example, if you're familiar with enterprise SIEM platforms like Splunk, right? In Splunk, we do have indexes, right, for categorizing different types of logs. Like the same way in OCI, we use log groups to categorize different types of logs. And at the same time, these log groups help us to limit access to sensitive logs. Right, as shown in the figure, right, we have two different log groups. One is the default log group, and the other one is sensitive log group. The logs from sensitive applications are being stored under this sensitive log group, sensitive data log group. And we can write IAM policies in such a way that only sensitive data administrators can access that sensitive log group. And coming to compliance and audit, right, it's crucial to have well-organized log data, and log groups help ensure that logs are kept in structured manner, which makes it as easier to generate reports and conduct audits. Now, we discussed about three different types of logs available in OCI, right? And I generally get a lot of questions often from my customer like, okay, you do have logs in OCI logging service. Is there a way I can get those logs from OCI logging service into our SIEM platform, which we have already invested a lot? Yeah, that is definitely possible. You can integrate OCI with your third-party SIEM platforms, right? This is the architecture, right, in which with which you can integrate third-party SIEM platforms like QRadar or Splunk. Here in this example, I take QRadar, but you can take Splunk or Azure Sentinel, whatever, right? As you can see, there are two new constructs here. One is Service Connector Hub, and the other one is OCI Streaming Service. Right. The Service Connector Hub is a native service in OCI, right, which helps us move data from one service to another service. In this scenario, particularly in this scenario, we are using the Service Connector Hub to move logs from OCI logging service into streaming service, which is Apache Kafka compatible, right? I mean, you can think of it as an Apache Kafka cluster, and everything is managed by OCI. Only will be presented with the topic details as well as the Bootstrap server details to how you can connect to the streaming service, right? Once the Service Connector Hub moves the logs from logging service to streaming service, you can configure your third-party SIEM platform, say QRadar in this case, to come as a Kafka consumer and consume that data from the OCI streaming service. Right. Let's see a small demo how this all works, how everything fits. All right. As you can see, once I logged in, this is my home screen in OCI. Right. Now go to the hamburger menu on the left top. Click on observability and management and click on search under logging. Now you land on this page here. I'm searching the logs in my compartment for the past 15 minutes. As you can see, the above two logs are from audit service and all the remaining logs are from VCN service, which are nothing but VCN flow logs. Now we need to configure a OCI stream as discussed earlier, which is Apache Kafka component. Now go to Analytics and AI and go to Streaming Service. And I have already created a stream called QRadar stream with one partition, 24 hours retention, and 2 and 1 Mbps read and write throughput. And to see the connection settings like the Bootstrap server, the SASL authentication, the SASL mechanism, right? Click on the default pool. There you can see the username and password with which you connect to that, the security protocol, the security mechanism. Now the stream is configured. Now we need Service Connector Hub to move logs from logging service to streaming service. I have already created a connector called the QRadar log connector with source as logging and the target as streaming, so that the logs will be moved from logging service to streaming service. And here, if you see, I'm moving the logs from my compartment, some audit logs as well as some logs from my functions, right, to the streaming service. Once everything is configured, we can quickly check by clicking on load messages whether the logs are really moving from logging service to streaming service. And it will give you the last 50 messages published in the last minute. Now everything is configured at OCN. Now let's go to the QRadar. Right, in the QRadar, let's go to the admin and click on QRadar log source management. I have already configured a source called Oracle Infrastructure Logs, which is an universal DSM source type and Apache Kafka protocol. And here the protocol settings like the Bootstrap server, the topic list, SASL username, SASL password. If you wonder where I get all these details, as I discussed, right, you can get from the Kafka pool connection settings, right? As you can see it here, again, that is the Bootstrap server, the protocol plane, and the topic is nothing but the stream name, which is QRadar stream. Once everything is configured, you can see the logs are flowing into the curator. Right now, click on any log and see the contents. What are there? Right here, if you see, this particular log is from my compartment, and it's an audit log, and which got generated right while I am listing the log groups. This way, we can integrate OCI with third-party SIEM platforms like Curator, Splunk, and Azure Sentinel. Right. And often I get questions from my customer. Recently, I worked with a customer, right? They do have a SIEM platform, but that particular SIEM platform doesn't have the capability to consume data as a Kafka consumer, and it doesn't have a OCI native connector also. And they ask me, is it possible to integrate those kind of SIEM platforms with OCI? Yes, it's absolutely possible, right? You can use the log shippers. As you can see in the architecture here, right? This is the same architecture, right? How you are integrating its third-party SIEM platform like Splunk or Curator to the streaming. But here, if you see, there is a man in the middle component called log shipper, right? Think of log shipper as a small agent running on a compute instance in OCI, right? If you see it here, yeah, the log shippers will have input plugins as well as output plugin. And the input plugin, we always recommend to use Kafka because that is the recommended way to consume data from OCI. I mean, the consume logs from OCI. And the output plugin, you can configure depending on your third-party SIEM platform. For suppose, if your SIEM platform has the capability to read data from OS file system, you can configure the output type as file. And if it has the capability to listen on a particular port and read the log data, yeah, you can configure it as a TCP port. Or if it has a webhook endpoint, yeah, you can configure the HTTP. Like this way, you can integrate third-party SIEM platforms, which doesn't have a Kafka consumer capability with OCI. Even though this, I mean, here, if you see, this is the same thing what we have discussed now, and there are different log shippers available, right? And some of them are vector, fluent bit, file bit, logstash, and even you can use Cribble, which is a managed kind of log shipper, right? Even though this log shipper bridges the gap here, I strongly recommend to consider it only as a last option, and if other methods are not feasible. And also, it is important to coordinate with your SIEM provider to explore any native or recommended approach first. And if you decided to proceed with this option, this log shipper option, at this point also sit with your SIEM provider and discuss what would be the efficient or correct log shipper for their SIEM platform, so that you will get better support from your third-party SIEM providers. Right now, and recently, right, I started working with some startups, right, and they kind of asking me like, yeah, we don't have a SIEM platform, and they want to analyze the logs which are generated in OCI, like the audit logs and VCN flow logs. And they requested me, right, do you have any native option in OCI with which I can analyze the logs, or I can build the dashboards or do some kind of correlation? Right, yes. You can use this OCI security analytics and forensic evaluation dashboard. Safety. All right. What is this safety? These are kind of out of the box dashboards, which are built by our team with the experience they gained from working with different customers. Right. And these are based on Oracle security analytics and monitoring best practices. And these dashboards query the data which we have already discussed, right? The audit logs, RVCN, the flow logs for the continuous identity and network security monitoring. And OCI logging analytics is the core service for this solution. Now, what is this? What is this OCI logging analytics? This Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Logging Analytics is a machine learning based advanced analytics cloud service that aggregates indexes, and analyzes all log data from on-premises as well as the multi-cloud environments. It's a lot of jargon, right? Let me make it simple. You can think of logging analytics as a native mini SIEM solution on OCI, or a kind of lightweight SIEM solution. It is built in, tightly integrated with OCI services, and helps you collect, analyze, and visualize logs at scale without the intervention of setting up a full-fledged SIEM platform. You get powerful log search, anomaly detection, pattern recognition, and out of the box dashboards all in one place. Let's have a look at one of the safety dashboard. This is the identity security dashboard example. As you can see, there are a lot of widgets, right? The successful login, the failed logins, right? With which it will be easy for you to detect any kind of brute force attacks, as well as the user password resets, user creations, right? As well as if you see there is a widget for API key creation. If someone is planning to do some kind of persistent users, yeah, you can figure it out with using API key creation, as well as geostats for unsuccessful logins. And let's have a look at about the network dashboard also. As you can see, there are a lot of features under network dashboard also, like the total network traffic, if any change is there. On any particular day, if the total network traffic is too high or too low, maybe you can think of it as an anomaly kind of thing, and you can start troubleshooting on that. And it represents the security groups as well as the security list changes. If someone is playing or disabling security controls, you will come to know, as well as it represents the threat IPs. This logging analytics, right, can have the information from our threat intelligence platform, and if it sees any threat IPs from the feeds which it is being received in your logs, you can see in that widget immediately. You can go ahead and can block those threat IPs in your network firewalls or WAF or whatever, right? And there are multiple ways you can go through for deploying this dashboard in your environment. The first one is the manual deployment. There is a GitHub link on the screen. You can go there, click on that. You will get a Terraform template, right, which you can deploy it using the OCI native service called Resource Manager. Right, once it is deployed, you can configure whatever the logs you would like to ingest into logging analytics. Once it is done, you download the dashboard. It's kind of JSON templates, upload into your logging analytics, and you can visualize. That is one way. This is entirely manual. Or there is in solution in our OCI marketplace as well. Go to OCI marketplace and search for security fundamental dashboards and click on launch stack. That's it. You can it's very intuitive and you can follow it easily. And recently, right, our team came up with security monitoring solution. Right, once the logs are ingested into logging analytics, it is simple. No need to do anything. Go to logging analytics, solutions, and security. There you can find those three dashboards: virtual cloud network, compute, and OCI audit. Right, this way. And these are the different ways, right, you can follow to deploy those dashboards. Right now, we have discussed about different types of logs in OCI and how you can move those logs from OCI logging service into SIEM platform. And if your SIEM doesn't support as a Kafka consumer, how you can use log shippers. And finally, if you don't have a SIEM platform, right, how you can use OCI safety and logging analytics, right? These are some of the resources which you can go through to implement those things, right? Now, my colleague CK is going to cover events and Oracle Access Governance. Thank you. Over to you, CK.
Yep, thank you, Chaitanya. Thank you for sharing insights about our OCI logging service as well as how do we integrate SIEM service. Now let's shift our focus to two other services which will really help us to implement a comprehensive security monitoring solution. So based on what Chaitanya explained, both OCI logging service as well as the SIEM integration, they together provide access to most of your historical data and forensic data that happened sometime in the past, right? How about let's take a use case where I would like to really catch events on fly. So how do I do that? I mean, how do I catch a real-time incident? And as soon as we find it, how do we remediate that? That's where both events and notification services will help us to catch security incidents or security events at runtime. And it will give an option for you to remediate those events either through notification or automatic remediation. So let's explore these two services in depth. So when it comes to Oracle Event Service, first try to understand what is an event. So we have many services in OCI. Each service emits an event. Whenever there is a change to resource that happens within OCI, it generates an event. Let's take an example. One of your developer creates a compute instance. When that happens, that compute service will create an event saying that one of your developer has created a compute instance, and what is the compartment that they created the compute instance, what is the time, and who did that. So all those information is available in the form of JSON message, which is very standardized message to understand. So that's one example I can give. But what is the next step, right? I mean, you can use event service to capture events of your interest. So there will be many events which will be generated like every second, but your focus is to catch events that you would like to monitor. So this is really helpful for security monitoring, right? You can use event service, which is a rule-based engine where I can define a rule to capture the event that I would like to see and that I would like to remediate. Examples I can say, whenever a user is created, or whenever a compute instance is being started, or whenever someone makes changes to VCN, you would like to get notified, or you would like to know that event has happened. If you see from the architecture standpoint, on the left side you have a set of OCI services. In the middle you have the OCI events, where I have defined some of the rules as an example. Those rules will capture events at runtime. It is going to monitor behind the scenes whenever there is a change to any resource that matches with the event rule. It is going to capture that one, and it will give an option for you to process that in the form of actions. An event can be notified to your team, or you can send that information to a SIEM system using streaming service, or you can come up with your own logic in the form of OCI functions, so that you can respond to that event, whether it is the remediation or some other action you can take through the functions. Let's take a quick example. Let's assume that you are in a development team. You have a requirement where whenever you want to create a compute instance, you would like to create a object storage bucket and attach that to the compute instance for a different use case. And at the same time, whenever you terminate a compute instance, you would like to go back and delete that storage bucket. So in that scenario, you can see on the screen, you have OCI events. Let's assume that you have a rule. That rule says instance creation and instance termination. And those two rules are associated with the target type called function. Whenever those two operations happens, whether it is a creation or deletion, the corresponding function will get invoked, and you can take an action. For example, either creation of object storage bucket or deletion of object storage bucket, right? So now, once I capture the event, we discussed about like you can notify that event to a specific team. So that's where you can use notification service. So think like notification service is a communication channel within the OCI, where you can send messages or alerts about changes that happened on the OCI platform. We include out-of-the-box integration for Slack, email-based notifications, PagerDuty, and a lot of other options. As you can see on the screen, in the middle, you have an event service. Whenever there is an event that gets fired, that is going to send that information to the notification service. Notification service, in turn, based on the channels you configure, you may have configured just email or function or even any channel. So based on the channels you have subscribed, it is going to send that information to those channels. So that way you can notify about changes to your corresponding parties. But when it comes to security, like, I mean, how does these two services will help us, right? Using events and notifications, you can really achieve a couple of cloud security monitoring use cases. Let me take a couple of examples. So in your OCI tenancy, if a new user is suddenly added to your admin group, so that's a concern. If you add someone to admin group, you are actually creating a highly privileged account within OCI. That is one activity that you want to keep an eye. And also, like if someone creates a policy and if the policy statement has manage all resources, so that policy is saying that it's giving like highly privileged permissions in OCI to a specific group in the form of policy. So that activity is something that we need to concern about. It may be intentional or unintentional, but at the same time, you need to capture that. You want to monitor that. So those are the two examples we can give. But again, you can use the same logic to implement even other cloud-related security use cases. So these two services together will do real-time threat detection, and it will give an opportunity for you to respond to that incident in a very faster way. And you can use functions to do the automatic remediation. So without involving any manual efforts, you can have functions to remediate those security events. So let me give a quick example in the form of demo here. So this is the dashboard of OCI console. When you log into OCI, on the top search bar, just type rules. It brings up an option called event service. Click on event service. Now you can click on create rule, or let's review like the one we have already created. So this rule is saying that if anyone gets added to the default administrator group, I would like to catch that event and I would like to take an action. So as you can see that service name, select the identity, because that's all about managing users and groups. And here I have provided the group ID of admin group. Now you can see the condition. Whenever a user is added to that group, it is going to generate JSON message, something like that, that you see on the screen, right? So that's the rule definition. Now, whenever that event gets triggered, I would like to take an action. So in this example, I'm actually processing in multiple ways. One, I have written a function that does automatic remediation, and also it will inform the SIEM system, and also it will inform my team members via notification. If you see the last option, notifications, that is the one it is going to deliver that event in the form of either email, Slack, or something else. But again, in this example, we have configured 3 action types, but your use case may not need everything. You may just want it to send it to your SIEM system. In that case, you can select the streaming service. So with that, let's conclude this topic before we go to the next one. So we have included a slide. If you want to explore more, we have links to the documentation, and many of our colleagues have written many use cases with the help of like OCI event service. You can explore in the blog environment there. So now let's move to the next topic, which is access governance. Before we understand like what is access governance, let's understand the need, like why do we need access governance? So when you have workloads in OCI or on-prem or multi-cloud, if your footprint is very small, yes, you can manually see who has access to what kind of access they have, and whether they really need that access. But in reality, right, when you start deploying your cloud workloads, they are going to grow bigger and bigger over the time. So being in a security team or a CISO or a security leadership, there are some critical questions that you need to ask when you run workloads in any cloud environment. Something like, who has access to what in my OCI environment? What permissions do they have? How was that access was granted? Should they really need that access? Or do you have controls in place where you can enforce principle of least privilege in the form of like SOD, like separation of duties? So these are the key questions that you need to ask yourself to make sure access governance is properly implemented in your OCI environment. That is where Oracle Access Governance will make your life easy with respect to access governance. At very high level, Cloud Access Governance is our native service in OCI that is built for enterprise use cases, something like identity lifecycle, hire to retire, access discovery, access request platform, or like any compliance use cases. But in this session, we are not going to go very deeper in access governance. Let's see what access governance can do for OCI. So when you integrate access governance for OCI, it is going to solve 4 key use cases, which are very low-hanging fruits in this integration. One, access visibility, access path, access reviews, and segregation of duties. So let's see what those use cases are. Access visibility, it is going to tell you who has access to what in your OCI environment, and the access path is going to explain how that access was granted. Now you can conduct access reviews on a regular basis to see like if those users really need that access. If they are not using that access, then you can remove that. And also put control, something like segregation of duties. I mean, how do I grant access in a most efficient way? I don't want to grant access that leads to a toxic combination for any user. As an example, if I grant compute admin role to a user, and for the same user, if I grant network admin, now we are giving that too much privilege where a person can go and create compute instance and expose that compute instance to the public IPs that will lead to data infiltration and exploitation use cases. So this is one control you have within access governance to implement access governance in a more efficient way. So let's take a quick demo that will explain what I just explained, right? So the dashboard that you are seeing here is access governance. Let me run the video demo here. So from access governance, you go to service administration, click on orchestrated systems, where I have already onboarded OCI tenancy here. So when you click on settings, so you just need to provide your target OCI tenancy ID, your home region of your OCI tenancy, and the identity domain that you want to include. And also you need to create policies in OCI so that access governance instance can talk to your tenancy and load the data from OCI, right? I mean, what kind of data are we talking about here? So the data it brings from OCI tenancy includes information about the users, groups, policies, and resources. Once it does the data loading, it is going to correlate those 4 data points, and it will give an enterprise-wide browser. As you can see here, in my environment, there are 6 users that you can see on the screen. Now I can see like, okay, there are like 6 users. Now I want to explore one user at a time. So for example, I would like to look at the user Kara. I want to understand what this user has access in my OCI tenancy. So when I click on view details, you can see that this user has OCI account, OCI 18, that is my tenancy name. Now let's see what kind of permission that user has in tenancy. So this user is part of 3 groups: compute admin, network admin, and the default OCI users group. So now we have seen what kind of permission the user has. The next step is, let's see what resources this user has access to. As you can see on the left side, the user has access to almost 2,600 resources within the tenancy. So that is very interesting, right? Now let's see, let's randomly pick a resource and try to understand how this resource was granted to this user. So in this example, I have selected an internet gateway, and the gateway name is GKMyVCN. Let's see how the user Kara has got access to this particular gateway. As you can see on the screen on the bottom right side, it says that access to this resource is allowed by a policy called network admin policy that is granting use permission for this user on the resource so that the user can use it or read it, update that. So now we have explored a couple of things, right? I mean, who has access to what access they have, and how they have got that access. And the next step is to see how do I conduct access reviews. So this is very important, right? I mean, when you create policies, over the time, you will end up having like more and more policies, and that will give more access to the users. Even if you think from the audit/compliance standpoint, there is a requirement based on your line of business where you need to run access reviews on a regular basis. But what is access reviews? It's all about finding who has access to what and do they really need that access, right? You are certifying whether they should have that access or not. Okay, so now, yeah. So when I say ongoing campaigns, you have I have created like 2 access reviews, one for analyzing what users have that access in the OCI, and also I would like to review the existing policies in my tenancy. So I have created like 2 access reviews. You can see on the screen. Now let's take one at a time. So if you see here on the screen, there are access reviews waiting on my queue about user access as well as access reviews for the policies. So now let's take one at a time. So now I would like to review a policy called admin root policy in the network admin, that is a user's access. So let's click on actions. So you can see that in my tenancy, in my admin group, there are 58 users in my admin group. So this is not like normal. Usually we have like 1 or 2 accounts within the admin group. So now I can see who are part of that admin group, and I can remove those users from that group to make sure you're not granting too much access to anyone. So if you feel like the list is looking good, you can just type the justification saying that this access review campaign is looks good to me, and you can submit. And if you go back now, and you can see that disappeared there. So as soon as you conduct the access reviews, you will, that will go away from the screen. Now we are looking at the policy review. So in the admin root policy, there are like 10 statements. Now I would like to see, do I really need these policy statements in a policy? If I feel there are some policy statements that is deviating my best practices, I can revoke that and do the review for the policy. So I'm just typing a policy statement, looks good, click on submit. And so this is how you can create access reviews within OCI. Now let's look at the interesting use case about SODs, separation of duties. So at the beginning, I gave an example about having compute admin and network admin together will grant too much permission. So you can define guardrails in access governance, and you can tell what makes a toxic combination. So in this example, compute admin, network admin, and you can say that it is a high risk and let's block the access immediately. So when you have these rules, it's not about the future use case, even the existing users, if they have a toxic combination, it can identify, it can say that this user has a toxic combination as per my best security practices or as per the rule. I don't want to allow it. Let's block the user Kara, and you can go and deactivate the user in your OCI tenancy. So just to summarize, we have explored with access governance on who has access to what in your OCI, how that access was granted, do they really need that access, and also having the ability to define separation of duty rules to avoid the toxic combination of access to your users. So we have an external site where you can find complete information about access governance. If you want to explore more, you have videos there, technical white papers, and the real-time use cases that you want to listen there. So with that, I will hand it over to my team, Stan, in the team.
Thank you, GK and Titania, for an awesome session. We really appreciate your help, and I hope this was a good learning experience for everyone. We do have a number of other series for our day one and beyond, and here are just a few of them. We have a hands-on series as well as a core OCI series. In addition, we also have one on Cloud Native Launchpad. If you enjoyed this session and would like us to conduct personalized training sessions for your organization, do email us at our personal training email, and we'll reach out to you. If you want us to conduct just a hands-on lab, we have our newly designed Quick Shop Live Labs program for a more expedited hands-on learning experience for specific cloud topics. Under our Developer Experience program, we co-develop a solution based on your own use case. Please remember that personal training is an investment we make in our customers to help them grow and develop their OCI skills at no extra cost to them. Our next session will be on October 20th. In this session, you will be introduced to the fundamentals on OCI tenancy and operating system security, and how to get your account start off correctly with best practices. With that, thanks for joining today's session, and have a wonderful day.